Welcome to the Legends of Iron. I'm Jon Andersen. Meet my co-hosts, Nick Best and Akim Williams. We're going to have some amazing guests on the show. Buckle up tight, because we're going to be talking about the shit you're not supposed to be talking about. We're going to be discussing anything and everything it takes to become a Legend of Iron.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by MuscleMeds. MuscleMeds is the creator of Carnivore Pure Beef Protein Icing. Beef builds muscle, and Carnivore is the world's #1 selling beef protein. And don't forget to try our new Carnivore flavor, Rocket Pop.
Oh, damn! Whoa, this is it right here.
Wow, this is protein? Delicious.
This is too good to be protein. Woo, we about to change the game with this one.
You're gonna love it.
Welcome to another edition of Legends of Iron. I am Jon Andersen. With me, always my partners in crime, Nick Best and Akim Williams. Unfortunately, can't be here today, but we have got a really, really killer show for you today. We've got Nicolas, I know I'm going to say this wrong, Vullioud, who is one of literally the best bodybuilders in the 212 category to ever walk the planet. So we've got him here, and we are really excited to hear about some of his experiences as a top bodybuilder on the planet. Nicolas, how you doing today, brother?
I'm very good. Thank you very much for the invitation. I appreciate. So yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Right on. Well, let's just start off hot, brother. I mean, I know you were literally right at the top of the game in the 212s. Why don't you just give us your favorite moment on stage as a competitor? Describe that for us.
I had the chance in 2018. I stepped on stage next to Hadi Choopan. That was at the Portugal Pro show in Europe. That was probably one of the best memory because I mean, now everybody knows that Hadi Choopan is the #1. So yeah, that was quite like that was an honor to be next to someone like him. And at the same time, that was very impressive. I felt very small next to him. And yeah, but that was a really, really good moment because Hadi is a nice person. We had a quick chat after the show. And yeah, I mean, bodybuilding is just not about, competing. It's also about talking with people, sharing the same passion. And that was a really great moment. And I'm really happy now to see him being at the top level, #1. I'm very happy for him also because we know also his story. He comes from a very difficult country, and being now at the top place, it's a great achievement for him, and I'm really happy for him. So that was a great memory. Yeah.
That you said that was 2018, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because then 2019. I was actually competing at the Vancouver Pro, and he showed up there. He won that show.
Yeah, Vancouver. He was amazing.
Oh my Lord! Yeah, he was. I mean, backstage, we were all looking at him, going, "Oh man, who's fighting out for second here?"
Yeah.
But that was when he was. I mean, he was. Keep in mind, he was just coming over to the heavies at that point, but he was every bit as big as the biggest guys on stage. Man, he was. Yeah. Yeah, really cool, brother. So that's got to be. That's looking at him now being literally the biggest and the baddest on the planet. That must be an amazing memory. And that's a memory you get to keep for the rest of your life. That's really cool.
Yeah. No, yeah. That I know that I have competing against him. So on the other side, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I've been with that guy on stage, the best guy in the world. So yeah, I feel, that's my proud moment,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Well, take us to the beginning. Tell us the beginning of your bodybuilding story. How did it start? For so many people, it started off with a certain situation or an inspiration by somebody. Tell us you're at the beginning. Where did it all start? How did it start?
Yeah, I was playing soccer before, and that was my sport. But unfortunately, I had a game and I broke my leg, so I couldn't play and do any sport for almost a year. And when I tried to come back to play soccer, I lost something like the fire. And so I started to go to the gym like everybody. And I met my first and last coach, actually, because I work only with one person. And I started to compete with him. So I was like just nothing. And he taught me everything, how to pose, everything about nutrition, everything, training also. And I started to compete in Switzerland, in my country. In the first year, I won the national. So that was like more a challenge for me. So, you know, when you win the first show, you're like, yeah, I'm going to keep going, you know? So, so that's why I just kept going. And and that's how the story was made.
You just kept winning.
Yeah, that's actually what happened. So I don't want to sound pretentious, but that's actually what happened. So,
well, brother, please remember, this show is to let you. We're here to show the world how good you really were. So please, don't feel bad about fluffing your feathers. That's what we're here for. So, how old were you?
Talk about what you did, what you accomplished.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, I didn't do a lot of show because I turned pro in 2016. I won the Honor Classic in the US. And then I did like one pro show in 2017. That was in Charlotte. I placed third place. And then I did in 2018 the Portugal Pro with Hadi Chupan. So I was second and he won the show. And then I won the Tampa Pro. That was like 3-4 weeks later. And I won that show. And then I got the ticket for the Olympia the same year. And at the Olympia, I placed 11th. And actually, that was my last show because then I didn't compete after the Olympia in 2018. So, yeah.
So your first show, how old were you when you competed the very first time?
As an amateur? So the beginning, I was 22. Yeah, 22.
And then your last show, how old were you at your last show?
28. Yeah, 27, 28, something like this. Yeah,
that was just a 5 or 6 years. Wow, you did a lot in a very short period of time. Isn't that crazy, Nick?
Mm-hmm. I built a lot of muscle the last few years.
Did a lot.
Yeah.
So you went from being an unknown bodybuilder to being in the Olympia in 5 years.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That's not normal.
Yeah, I mean, and so
that's not normal at all.
But no, and then here's another question. So when you started to train how long, once you actually decided to start training to turn pro, how long did it take you? How many years did you train to turn pro?
I started in 2012. That was my first year, and I turned pro in 2016. So it's like 3 years to 4 years.
God, dang.
Yeah, actually, I've made like the 3 first year of competition. I was junior, so I was competing in the junior division, and at that time the IFBB and the NPC were still together. So I was doing the national, then the European Championship, and also the Honor Classic in Spain because I was still with the NPC. And after that, I did my first show as a senior. I mean, I was not junior anymore. I won straight after the first Olympia amateur in Spain. And the year after, I did my last show as an amateur. That was the Honor Classic in the US, and I won the show also. So that was actually very fast because I was doing pretty much one show per year. And I was winning, so that was one shot, and then I was staying relaxed until the next year. So that was actually pretty good for me because I was prepping for 6, 7 months, 8 months. Then I had 2 months break off everything, and then I was able to come back. So that was a good, I would say, good speed because I could do like step by step the things. So. That was good, but pretty fast on the other side. I didn't actually realize because I was doing things, I just loved the process. So I was doing my training, eating, was doing a show. I was winning. I was like, okay, cool. Let's see next year. And then I just became pro and
just do it again, win again, and wait till next year and do it again. And
yeah, I mean, that was it was not easy, but I was doing things without thinking, that was natural. I was doing up, training, winning, and then I was studying again. So I started to realize that I had maybe potential when I turned pro, because before I was doing this for fun. I was like, okay, I was winning. Yeah, good. Yeah, let's see next year. And then when I turned pro, I was like, okay, maybe I can still, I can think about the Olympia, because it's starting to be serious now. And that's where I really started to be not more professional, but more conscious of my ability to be one of the best in the world. Yeah.
So when are you getting back? Are you going to go back to it, or are you completely done?
No, unfortunately, after the Olympia, and that's actually the main reason why I have stopped. I had some heart issue, so I was too big. I was too big for my height, because I'm 165. It's like 5'4", something like this, 5'4", and I was at 115 kilos. So it's like 250 pounds. Yeah, 250 pounds. So and I was lean, so I was not like fat at all. So obviously I had. Yeah. So that was crazy actually.
That's massive.
Yeah, I was not conscious.
I'm 6'2", 300 pounds. So that's gigantic.
Yeah, that's numbers. Wow. Everything is relative, but that was too big. That was too big for my health, because my heart couldn't support the weight, and so unfortunately I had some issues. So I had to relax myself a little bit. So I stepped back for a year, and I tried to come back. So I had to change a bit my plan. I couldn't be as heavy as before, and unfortunately my heart was a bit tired. So I had to take a decision. So and when you do the Olympia once, you do the Olympia. You don't want to step back and do a national show or something. So I was like, okay, if I cannot do the Olympia again, I stopped, because it doesn't make sense for me to keep going if I cannot be at the top level. And that's why I just said, okay, let's stop, and let's try to work more on my business, on coaching and stuff like this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're doing really well with that. So, that's awesome. And getting to the Olympia is no small task. There's so many competitors year in and year out that their whole dream is to get there, and you were able to do that, and rather quickly. So that's awesome. And it's unfortunate, but we all run into issues. I just had cancer. I had a renal cell carcinoma in my kidney. They took my kidney. So I retired from strongman going through that process. So I totally understand. I totally get it. I can't train light for a strongman contest the way I used to, because I go rhabdo. It just won't. I can't train 2-3 days in a row anymore. I have to take time off in between. It's
the dark side of the sport, and I think sometimes we don't speak enough about it, because we have so much passion for this, but there's also so much to lose. And that's what I'm trying now to tell to my clients and people. If you have the ability, if you have the potential to do it, I can understand if you want to take some risk. But if you know that you don't have the tools to be at this level, you need to really think about it twice, because there's a lot to lose. The price can be very expensive. And we know what happened the last few years when we check all those great names who unfortunately disappeared. And I think we need to learn from this. We need to learn from not the mistakes, but the reality of this sport. And sometimes I have the impression that we ignore a little bit that side, and we need to open the eyes. I'm not saying that we have to stop everything, but we need to be more conscious of this, and we also have to speak more about it, because sometimes I have the impression that we cry a bit, like, oh, it's unfortunately we lost someone, but on the other side we don't do anything to change the situation, because there's a reason why we are still in this situation. And that's the speech I'm trying to have now, especially with the clients I have now, because I coach people who takes some steroids. So obviously I try to have this kind of speech also with them. But that's a very difficult topic, I would say. It's very hard to talk about it, and also to make understand the reality of this. Yeah.
Right, and some of the hard part about that is how do you get somebody to come to that realization that they have talent, but they don't have talent to be at that level. They can do it and have fun, but maybe pull back just a bit so that you don't push the envelope and put things at risk. How do you have that conversation with someone and then get through to them? Because that'll be like a massive issue with people sometimes. They just don't want to hear the reality.
Well, you know what? Sometimes I lost clients because I just told them the truth. If someone doesn't have the potential, but he thinks that he can make it, sometimes it's my job and my responsibility to say, listen, you can do it if you want for fun, if you like the sport. I can understand it, but you need to get a real context. So you need to do the things according to your situation. If you have the potential to be at this level, well, just do the things you have to do. I understand. But if you don't have the potential, you have a family, you have kids at home, you need to think about it. And you cannot have the same approach if you're in this situation than if you're, I would say, single with a great potential. I can understand if you want to take some risk. It's like I always take the example of Ronnie Coleman, because everybody today is like, oh, but you see how Ronnie Coleman he is. You see he's in a wheelchair. And I'm like, listen, Ronnie Coleman was it's the greatest bodybuilder ever, okay? He had the potential to be 8-10 times Mr. Olympia. So I can understand if he took some risk, because the guy is a legend. And in 10 years, we're going to speak about him still, So I can understand. But if today I ask you to tell me who was the number 10 at the Olympia 5 years ago, I don't think you know it. You don't know.
No.
But that's fantastic. I mean, 10th place at the Olympia, that's a fantastic rank. But the truth is, nobody knows. Nobody can tell your name. You need to check on internet to know to see the person. And that's the reality. So when you're here, that's where I'm like, okay, now if you're in this situation, you need to think about it. If you're in the top 3 and you want to take some risk, it makes sense to me. But if you're every time at the bottom, I don't know if it's really worth it. That's my thought. That's my philosophy.
That's smart, because there's not a lot of people that'll give it a reality check like that. And that's what makes it so valuable, and why people should actually listen, because you're going to give them the truth. And the truth sometimes is a hard pill to swallow, but it's better than pushing up daisies. It really is. And there's more to life than just that one.
What did you say? Pushing up daisies?
Yeah.
Nick?
Pushing up daisies. Yeah, pushing up daisies. Yeah. Helping the flowers.
That was good. That was good.
I've baked myself there.
I love it.
So, yeah,
I was going to say a lot of people. I'm glad you explained that. I don't think a lot of people knew what that meant. I love
you're
it.
Under the ground, and you're helping plants grow by fertilizing them, pushing the daisies up. So, yeah.
I love it. Well, Nicolas, let's talk about your approach with training. Obviously, you made a whole lot of progress in a real short period of time, and I know the majority of people, even though we all know that the diet is the biggest piece of the equation. The majority of people don't recognize that, so they want to know, how do you train? That's what most people are going to want to know. So tell us about your training.
I'm actually I'm old school. I mean, heavyweight. I mean, I don't know someone who is not big, and I mean, big for me means heavyweight. There's a link, there's a connection. I mean, I don't see any strongman thin like an asparagus, you know, because they lift super heavy. I mean, that's how it works. That this is physiology. Of course, when you reach a certain point, you need to think more about the TUT, for instance, because obviously, if you lift super heavy all the time, you can have some issue with your joints. But that's what I did my entire career. I started to train pretty heavy, and after, I would say, 2-3 years, I've started to use more TUT. And I have used a philosophy that my coach Patrick Tour worked on. It's called SST. It's sarcoplasma stimulating training, and the idea is to use the strength and optimize the strength with the TUT. So instead of putting more weight, the idea is to add more time on the tension with different kind of contractions, with different kind of methodology and approaches. So that's what I actually did the last years of training, but that was very intense, very, very intense. And I think it played a very, very big role with the evolution of my physique. Yeah.
So give us like in terms of say for an average body part, how many sets might you train for an average body? Say for like if you're doing like a chest workout, how many sets might you do for a chest workout?
I have very low volume, so I would say between 6 and maybe 10 sets maximum. But it's failure for every set.
Yes.
Yeah, because
that's perfect, because you know what people don't understand is they don't understand that when you're training intensely, you've got to take the volume and have less volume. And a lot of times people, you know, the general misconceptions, people think you make your progress in the gym, and really we make our progress with our diets. It's the gym that stimulates the growth. So if you're going to train intensely, you're going to do fewer sets. So please talk about that, because I think that's a really misunderstood piece of the equation when it comes to training. People think that training really intensely for big long workouts is the trick, but you can't maintain that. That's not a big picture type solution for putting on muscle tissue.
Yeah, I think when you work until failure, what people have to understand is that it's not only about muscle, okay? It's also about the nerve system. And if you work until failure on every set, it's very difficult. But if you do it, obviously you will need more rest for your nerve system. And it means that you cannot do it for 2 hours. You're going to do it maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And what people have to understand is that it's not about the numbers of sets that you're going to do, but the quality of those sets. So if you do 4, 5, 6 sets until failure with the proper range of motion, proper weights, proper rep range, it's 10 times more effective than if you spend 2 hours in the gym with 20, 30 sets, but not until failure. And I think that's the biggest mistake I see with clients and also people in the gym, is that they spend a lot of time in the gym thinking that when you're in the gym, you work, but actually it's not the case. Very often, sometimes I go to the gym, I see some people and I'm done with my workout before them. You see, because I go there, I put my headphones and I do my work. And I don't need to spend 2 hours, you know, I do my rest, I do my sets, I have the plan in my head, and that's it. I don't need to spend much more time in the gym, you know. And people really have to understand this. There's a big difference between what is really effective and the volume that you put in your workout. And especially when you work super heavy, I guess for strongman and this kind of approach is you work heavy, and working heavy means you cannot spend 2 hours in the gym because you need more rest for your nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. And that's something right there. I think if people would understand that the training is just a method of stimulating muscle growth rather than annihilating it. Lee Haney said that. Training is stimulation, not annihilation. And I think people get caught up in, I'm going to go to the gym and kill myself. And they take that too literally. It's more of a figure of speech. I'm going to go to the gym and kick ass would be a better way to go, but that's really good. That's good to hear you say that, because that's the type of information that people need. Nick and I talk about that all the time. We're both in our 50s, and the amount of volume that we do, like it's crazy. I mean, it's literally kind of blows even me away. I'm 51 now. And even from 10 years ago, the amount of volume I do now to stay in shape is probably half of what I did 10 years ago. And it's just, it's really comes down to just making sure that you break the muscle down, and then you kind of figure out what does it take to recover. And as you get older, it takes less work to get the muscle broken down, but the equal amount of time for it to recover.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, the problem is that when you look at something like someone like Jay Cutler, he was doing a lot of volume, but there's a point. People have to understand that it's Jay Cutler. Okay, the guy was like, I don't know how many pounds. He had the tons of muscle and the ability to go through the effort through the sets. It's probably 10 times higher than, I would say, a basic person. And that's what happened with the social media. I mean, people, they see this on social media and they're like, oh, I can do the same. But no, there's a big difference. Yeah. It's not because Jay Cutler is training in the same gym as you and next to you that you can do the same. There's a big difference. And people sometimes they don't understand this.
Yeah. Yeah, very true.
Agreed.
Very true.
And I've worked out in the gym at the same time he has. At the Gold's Lake Mead in Buffalo, he used to train here, and we'd be in there training at the same time. Yeah. So I got to watch some of that firsthand, and it's not normal. People are not going to be able to do
that. Who can do that? I mean, he was spending like pretty much 2 hours in the gym, and he was having the same strength all the time. And at the end of the session, beginning of the session, no difference. But it's just a few guys who can do that, not everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us about your diet. What was in terms of what really worked well for you with your diet when you were putting on all your good muscle tissue? Because I'll tell you, our listeners pretty much, it's a guarantee that all of our listeners want to hear different methodologies to gain muscle. So the diet, we know, is the biggest piece of the equation. So talk to us about some of the things that really worked for you with your diet.
Well, chicken is going to stay chicken for everybody. So I won't find a magic food, because today people, they want to hear like the magic, like the magic food or I don't know what, but I'm eating chicken like you, like everybody, So it's the same. The difference, I think the biggest difference is the, how do you say, the consistency, yeah? We say like this.
Yes.
And if you do it every day, all year, that's where you're going to make the difference, because doing a diet for a week, it's super easy, but doing it for the whole year, it's different. I always had I think there were 6 meals per day. And the calories I had to take was not super high, because the problem I had before was my weight, because I was a little bit too heavy for the 212. So I had to deal with the calories, because otherwise I would be in the open division. So my calories were like 4,000 calories per day, not more. And I was big like this. So I really had to deal with this. And as I said before, because of my heart issue, I couldn't also, I would say, give the space to my body and say, okay, I can eat more and let's see how I will be. I couldn't do it because I had to take care of my heart. But I was doing 6 meals per day, 4,000 calories maximum, maybe 4,500, but not more. And basic food, oats, eggs, chicken, no fucking miracle. So the basis.
So really what you're saying is that, just so everybody's very clear on this, you're saying that the key is the consistency. It's not about some secret formulation. It's about the diet that works is the diet that you actually stick to. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's how it works. I mean, you can put like, I don't know, Kellogg's or whatever you want in your diet. You need to just follow your plan every day. I'm not really into Kellogg's and stuff like this, but it's basic food. I mean, oats. We eat oats for years, and I think Arnold Schwarzenegger was eating oats also. I mean, there's nothing new since that period. So yeah, it's just a matter of doing it every fucking day. And when I was going to a holiday, I was taking my food with me. When I was doing Christmas with my family, I was eating I had my Tupperware with me, They were eating whatever they want, but I was eating my green beans with my chicken and stuff. And that's where people don't really understand this. They think that, it's because it's Christmas, you can do whatever you want. No, that's not how it works. If you want to be number one, you need to do everything to be where you want to go, And people are not really ready to make this this kind of change, And I mean, that's where you make the difference. It's all those little details. When you put them together, it makes a big difference at the end.
Yeah. And it really what it comes down to is it's like you started off. You said chicken's the same for everybody. That's perfect.
Yeah, chicken, so fish. I mean, it's the same for everybody. Everybody.
Yeah. Go ahead,
the question I have is, what would be the difference for you between chicken and beef?
I would probably choose according to my stomach. I mean, how I can digest the food. So if I feel bloated or I have some issue with this, then I would select something else. That's the big difference. But at the end of the day, it's still the same amount of protein for both. Maybe I would say red meat is maybe more acid, maybe for the stomach. That's maybe the only difference. But I know some people, they can eat red meat every day, twice a day, and they don't have any issue. And some people, they have issue. So yeah, you see. So for you, yeah. So I was eating red meat every day too, and I never had any problem with this before. So I think it's a lot of about it depends on everyone. I saw the diet of Labrada a few years ago, and he was eating a lot of red meat, and he had a lot of shakers. That's not what I would do like this if I have to build a diet now. But why not? I mean, if it works for him, if he has a good blood test, if he feels good, why not? I mean, that can work. So I'm not against this. I think there's as many approaches as athletes.
How many of the athletes do you think are actually paying attention to their blood tests and getting blood work done?
Oh,
which is a critical mistake.
Not many. Yeah.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I think the problem, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think in the US, it's not an obligation to have a social assurance, right? No.
What is it? The what?
I don't know how you call it, social assurance or this, like...
insurance. Yeah. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Okay, because where I live, that's an obligation. That's the first obligation. If you want to stay in the country, you need to take one. You cannot stay in the country if you don't pay a social insurance. So with the social insurance, you have a lot of things that you can actually do, and they're going to pay for you. So if you do a blood test with your doctor, the social insurance is going to pay for it. But I know that in America, if you don't have one, obviously you have to pay by yourself. And I guess if you do a lot of blood tests, it's kind of expensive. And I think it's also this, the problem comes from this. I mean, if you don't have social insurance, you're going to try to save money. And a lot of athletes, I think they save money on this. And on the other side, they prefer to buy some steroids. So, I mean, that's a choice, but it's also a reality. And I think it's the reality from the US. That's something I see very often in this country. But it's terrible on the other side because people have to do it. I mean, it's the first step if you want to keep your health under control.
Yeah.
No, I'll agree. Because I'll get blood work done probably every 3 months just to, well, I have to now. I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
But I did it anyway, just to see where I was at and everything else.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm picking up
Well, I
powers.
mean, you got to monitor health. You know, I mean, even from the standpoint of not being taking athletics and putting that away, you still want to make sure you're at our age, prostate's still working properly. You know, I mean, prostate cancer in America, I think what, like 7 out of 10 men get prostate cancer in America now. That's insane.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and that might forgive that statistic may not be perfect, but it's up there. It's like alarmingly high. You know, prostate cancer runs rampant in America. You know, and so to get a blood test to make sure that you're still okay, it's common sense. You know, so
for sure.
So tell us a little bit about your opinions on the current about the sport today. Like, what do you think about? Obviously, like we talked about Hadi being the champion. What do you think about some of the young guys coming up? Give us your opinions on the current position of the sport.
That's I think there's a part of me is want to say it's actually scary because when you're so young and be at the top level like this, I'm always wondering how you're gonna be in 20 years. That's my question. But that's just the, I would say, health aspect, but it's very, very impressive. I think the classic division really brought something new, and it's pushing the other division also. When we check when we see the men's physique division now, and we try to see the men's physique division 5-6 years ago, there's a very big difference, and we are getting bigger each year. I think that's the big issue, I would say, because we always want to be big and bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think we need to keep a certain, I would say, basis. And I think the classic division for this is actually pretty good, because I have the impression they bring this back a bit, and I cannot say it's safer, but it's I would say more what has to be bodybuilding, in my opinion, in terms of physique, because sometimes in the open division I think we're going too far. I mean, I love watching Frake on stage, but being a Frake has to be also aesthetic on the other side. So, and it's very hard to find the balance. And for instance, we were talking about Hadi Choopan. Hadi Choopan is really the best ambassador right now in the open, because he has those lines, those muscle belly, and he's still aesthetic. I mean, he has a good waist and everything. But it's super hard to find, in my opinion, athletes who got this today in the open division. Maybe Derek Lansford, who is, in my opinion, fantastic, and Hadi Choopan really got this, I would say, lines to represent the bodybuilding in the open division right now. But I think there's a hole like between those two guys and the rest of the division, but that's only my opinion.
On that opinion, what are your thoughts? Because you just talked about Hadi and Derek. Both these guys came from the lightweight division, and they spent years trying to keep their weight down, which then obviously kept their midsections from getting too big. Do you think that's a big part of some of these guys, like these two guys especially? That's who we're talking about. They've got very nice waistlines still because they spent years trying to keep their weight down in that lower division? Do you think do we think we're going to see a trend of lightweight guys coming up that have a better, more aesthetic physique that's going to continue to kind of rock the boat in the open division because the open guys get too big and they lose their lines? You think this is a trend?
That makes sense to think like this. I mean, I didn't actually think about it, but now you say it, that's true. I mean, they come from the 212, and the 212 division is very, very hard because you need to keep this weight at the 212. And that's also the reason why we see more in my opinion, conditioned athletes in the 212 division than in the open, because they have to fight with this weight. And I think there's probably a link with this waist and the way they look now in the open. There's probably a link. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And as you can see, I mean, Sean Clarida, I mean, he didn't compete in the open, but he made some open show also, and he won. So there's also probably it's probably the same reason why he made it, because Sean doesn't have the height with him, because he's very, very short. So it's super hard to compete in the open when you're short like this. But he made it a few times, so it probably proves that if you have this waist and you manage to keep the weight under control, that can really help for winning and keep the lines, actually, the symmetry.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that like Derek Lunsford, his first year and placed second in the open, what do you predict in the future for him?
Well, I think he's going to be the future. So he's gonna win. I mean, I don't see someone better than him in terms of lines, except one person. It's maybe Keon, but he needs to bring the condition. That's the only thing he has to bring. If Keon brings the condition, he can really make it, because he has this weight super thin and those shoulders so big. I mean, the V tape impression that you have when you watch those guys, it's super impressive. And I think Derek and Keon, in my opinion, they have the best structure in the 212 division right now. Now Derek also still has some work to do with the condition. So the fact that he's second, knowing that he can still improve the condition, it's a good thing for him for the future, because I don't think people can beat him even if they have a better condition. And we saw it at the Olympia, because guys like Nick Walker, he had fantastic condition, but in terms of line, you see that Derek was ahead. He was second. So I think the line is a little bit more important. I mean, that's what we saw at the last Olympia. That's maybe also the decision of the judges. Maybe they say, okay, now we need to put this. The main aspect, the main parameter has to be the line. So that's maybe what they choose. If it's the case, I think it's the right decision.
Yeah, it definitely does seem like they're starting to reward the lines and conditioning, which obviously is helpful. Like Nick Walker, he's a beast and he's really conditioned. Obviously doesn't quite have the same lines and taper as the Derek Lunsford, but that's from his perspective, he's doing it's a genetic thing. He just doesn't have that little waist, Yep. But I guess from the standpoint of the open, you get a couple guys in there like Derek that can bring the size, which he's bringing the size and that little waist and the conditioning. You could see it. He's pretty young too, isn't he? How old is he?
Oh, I think he's like 20, maybe 30 or 29, something like this. He's very young.
Yeah, I was going to say he's kind of at he could go on a pretty good run here, But I think you're right. I think the judges are starting to favor the lines, which I agree would be really helpful for the development of the sport.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
The aesthetic look.
Yeah. I mean, it is, let's be honest though, it is fun to see just these big beasts that are just over the top, the big Rami looks, but at the same time, I guess there's just something about the illusion when you can put a guy like, you put a guy like Derek Lunsford or Sean Clarita next to Big Ramy. And even though you can visibly see there's a huge difference in structure, they actually look bigger. It just, the illusion is pretty crazy. It's pretty amazing how a physique can gain size just by the structure, you know?
Yeah, and I think there's a kind of transition with the generation since the last 2 years, I think so. Because a few years ago, we had like Wally Winkler, we had all those guys, and today they are not there anymore. So we see also a new generation coming, like Nick Walker, Sean. Sean was still there, but he was a little bit in the shadow a bit before. So now he's coming, and he's number one in the 212. And Derek is the new face. Hadi Chupan also. I mean, he's not new, but on the Olympia stage, he's competed just since the last 4 last years, I think so. So we can consider that he's new also. And all the guys you have behind, like Labrada, Valier, those guys are the new faces of bodybuilding now. So, yeah, I mean, it's a new generation coming. So it's actually pretty exciting to see also, because I think it's now super open. Maybe, I think, as I said before, Hadi and Derek have the top spots now. But the rest, I think it's super open. I think the person who was 10th can also finish at the 6th or 5th place. And that's why it's very interesting now to watch also the open division.
So it sounds like you agree with the way the judges are taking the sport. They're starting to reward the guys with the better physiques. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to me that makes sense. Yeah, the way I was very happy to see how the work they did at their last Olympia, because I found it pretty logic. And also the fact to give the first place to Hadi, knowing that he was competing and he was really good the last show at the Olympia. And I think they made it in the proper way. I think so. That was a very good decision. And in every division, classic also, men's physique. I don't watch a lot of the men's physique division, but from what I saw, it's also pretty logic in my opinion.
Okay.
You know, what about Hani Rambod he's got the 2 top open guys, he's got the top physique guy. I mean, clearly, talk to us a little bit about what you think about him, your opinion on him. Clearly, he's got the formula. He's good at picking athletes too, but I'd love to hear your opinion. Coaches make a big difference. Talk to us about coaches.
Yeah, I mean, Hani Rambod, for instance, he knows how to pick the guys and he knows how to prep them. I mean, probably now we cannot say anything about him, bad, because the guy he's number one in terms of coaching now, because he has the best guys. So obviously it's the number one right now. We cannot say the opposite. But I think the coach really can make a big difference. And what I see nowadays is that people, they change a lot, the coaches. Sometimes they do one season with one guy, and then they change, and then they change again. And I'm not really. I think it's not a good thing, because if you change all the time, you never know what you have to change from the last season, because you're gonna have a new approach, a new technique, and everything, and it's super hard to have like a reference and know what you have to change. And sometimes, in my opinion, it's good to make some mistakes, even if you do a bad season with the coach, because you're gonna be sitting at the table and you're gonna learn. You're gonna talk about this, and you're gonna say, okay, we have to change this. This didn't work. This is what happened with my coach, because I worked 10 years with the same person, and we didn't do everything perfect at the first show, but every time after the show we were talking and we were like, okay, this was good, this was not good, so we have to change for next show. And this is why step by step we managed to bring the physique at this level, because we took time and we work on it. So we didn't just it didn't work, so okay, I go with someone else. No, it's not how it works. And doing this, in my opinion, is also good for the relationship that you're going to have with the person, because it's about loyalty, it's about trust, And I think it's very important to have those values when you do that sport, because it really helps to strengthen, the collaboration. And sometimes you have to change. I mean, that's how it works. But doing this every season is, in my opinion, not a good thing. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that, because it's a cumulative thing. 100%. If you're always jumping around, I think it's funny. It's almost like it's in current sports today in bodybuilding. It just seems like everybody wants things so quickly, making these changes. It's not about making changes like going from here to there. It's about just doing the same process over and over and making these little tiny adjustments every time you repeat the process.
Yeah.
I
it's the instant gratification that goes on in society as it is,
Yeah.
Everybody wants instant gratification, and it's like, that's not how this works.
No.
This is a slow, methodical learning process that you always keep learning. And if you change people all the time, how are you going to have consistency or move forwards and learn?
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right.
Yep.
Absolutely right.
That's it. So, Nicolas, tell us a little bit about what is bodybuilding like in Switzerland?
Nothing. It's a very small world.
I had kind of a feeling it was going to be a little bit smaller, but obviously you being such you obviously were a star, but in a country where it wasn't really big. What was that like? I mean, did they understand how good you really were on a world level?
Switzerland is a very peaceful country, so they don't really give a shit about bodybuilding people. I mean, but that's fair. That's fair enough. I mean, for me, that's good, because I don't need I just do this for myself. I don't need any, reactions or whatever. So if you go in the industry in bodybuilding in Switzerland, I mean, people, they know me, yes, of course, but I'm not like a superstar, I'm not famous, like taking pictures with people in the streets. So that's good for me, because I don't like this. But no, it's a small country, so you can count on one hand the numbers of professional, because it's a very small country. So we have a few bikini professional and a few men's physique, but we don't have any open right now. And we don't have any 212. So it's super. Yeah, it's small, but it's we are not a country of bodybuilding. We play soccer, we play hockey, and that's it. But I'm the ovni of Switzerland because I did something super different, and and I don't regret. I mean, that's a fantastic industry. I mean, I really love the sport. Even if I'm retired now, I really love it. I still follow every show. And I mean, when you go in this world, then you're gonna do it, or you're gonna have it in your blood until the end of your life. That's how it works.
Yeah. Right. Well, it's all kind of. I mean, you're obviously like you still train. It's like that's the stuff you never really stop. You just stop competing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like remember when Arnold retired? He said, "I'm not stopping bodybuilding. I'm just stopping competing in bodybuilding." You know?
I mean, when you start a diet, I mean, you don't stop. When I was off with the competition, I don't know if it happens to you, but very often I was like, okay, I don't have any diet, so I don't have any precise quantities to do, but I was using my scale every time. I mean, I was even if I had no obligation, I was putting my oats on my scale, and I was like, okay,
hey, brother, I got a scale. I got a scale in my kitchen. You can't it becomes a habit. You just want to know what you're eating. You know.
Yeah. Even when I'm on holiday, I do the same. I mean, I have my scale because I don't like to just put my food, on the pan, and I need to know what I eat, and it comes from bodybuilding. I mean, you have to do it every day because it's Yeah, it's a lifestyle. That's what people don't understand. It's a lifestyle. It's not because you don't do competition anymore that you stop everything. As you said, you just stop to go on stage. That's it. But the lifestyle is still the same.
Yeah.
You do your cardio. I do my cardio every morning. At 6 a.m., I'm doing my cardio every day. Nobody tells me to do it. I just love to do it. That's the difference. And I still go to the gym. I love training. I love doing my diet. The difference is that maybe I have more, I would say, freedom. If I want to go to the restaurant, I go to the restaurant because I don't have any obligation.
Yeah.
But 90% of my time, I'm doing my diet, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, you think about it, if you look at our lives as humans, all of the important things in our lives, we measure somehow, some way. You know, we measure our bank accounts. We measure this, we measure that. It's silly that we never were taught to measure food, because food actually is what makes us healthy. And unfortunately, most people have never been taught this. So what you're saying and, you know, what we do, it makes a lot of sense. It's just people have never really been shown how important it is, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, this is, it's an entire world. I mean, you have everything in the same bubble. And when you're inside this bubble, even if you don't compete, you're still inside this bubble. You cannot go out. I mean, I don't know any people. I mean, even my coach, he has competing as a professional. Okay, he doesn't do his cardio and everything, but he's eating his chicken. I mean, when he has to eat, his meal is chicken with veggies and rice. I mean, because, I mean, no pizza, you know, it's not logic. I mean, it's in your blood, and it becomes your genetic, you see? So it's once you start this, you cannot go out. It's forever. And I think it's good because, as you said, it's for your health also. And
Yeah. Well, and another thing too is once you start to eat properly and you take good care of yourself, you realize how good you feel, and so your quality of living, your standard of living goes high up. And if you stop doing that, you start to feel low. And who wants to do that? Like for me, if I eat pizza, it's really it's how bad I feel. I mean, I don't eat pizza because I'll feel like shit for the next 3 hours. I feel terrible. And that few minutes of eating a couple of pieces of pizza is not worth the next 2 or 3 hours of my life feeling poorly, you know? And that's a physical thing. It's just, I feel tired. I feel, I don't feel well. Hell, I don't even it even messes up a good dump, you know?
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So,
I agree. Yeah. And it's also, I think, when I don't train, because sometimes people, they tell me, oh, but you don't compete, so you can do whatever you want. Why do you go to the gym and train every day? And I'm like, listen, if I don't train, if I don't eat my meals, I am not productive at work, because doing training and everything, it makes me feel good in my brain, good in my body. And if I feel good with myself, I'm way more productive in my job. I can work. I have a better focus on my job. Everything is better. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's unfortunate in America. You know, people literally say, well, you know, I hear it all the time. Why don't you eat normal? Well, because normal makes me feel like shit. That's why. Yeah. I mean,
there's a reason why everybody's
normal
now.
That's right. If normal means going through a goddamn drive-through, I don't want to be normal, you know?
Yeah. No, definitely.
No, I love it. So that's right. Well, brother, we've had you on here for almost an hour. We really appreciate your time, but tell us a little bit about what's next for you. So obviously you still live in the lifestyle, you're training clients. What's the next 10 years look like for Nicolas?
Now I have my coaching, so I try to work a lot on this, trying to get more clients, be more independent, and I'm traveling also very often to Mexico. I go very often to Mexico. I like going there, so I'm trying also to have some I don't know how you say in English, but maybe find a place there just to stay, because I really love this place, and doing like 6 months per year in Mexico and 6 months in Switzerland. Yeah,
it's that guy right there,
brother. I have a place in Mexico.
No way.
Where do you go? I mean, It's in San Felipe. I even got a guest house. You can come down, stay in the. I mean, we're on Baja, so if you're interested in that area,
thank you very much. Appreciate
yeah, I mean that's. Yeah, I mean it's. I'm with you. It's great to be able to go down there and chill, and that we're in a place where there's still a gym, and the food is actually spectacular. It's, unfortunately, unlike America, the food's still unadulterated. But either way, yeah. So basically, sounds like you've taken everything that you loved and you've just made a profession out of it to make money. That's wonderful, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's all anybody could ask.
Great. That's really cool. That's it. That's it. Well, before we wrap this baby up, you got anything for Nicolas before we go, Nick?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. You know what? People are really going to learn a lot from this, and you spoke from the heart. Even when it can be controversial and things that people don't want to hear. So thank you for doing that.
Yes.
Because you're right. We do need more people to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to you for the invitation again. So I really appreciate the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And Nicolas, it was an absolute pleasure to have you come on here. I was really excited to talk to you, and I love, your perspectives. I love you're very simple, straightforward. And just like Nick said, your honesty is something that we need more of in the world. So again, I thank you for sharing today on the show, brother. It was a pleasure having you on. So, and there you have it, everyone. There is another edition of Legends of Iron. We got to speak with one of the best 212ers ever on the planet. The crazy part is he did that all in a span of just 5 years. So if this didn't inspire you, I don't know what will. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Legends of Iron is brought to you by MuscleMeds.
Damn, man. Can't even enjoy my workout, man. Yo, hey, bro, what's wrong with you, man? What's wrong with you, bro? What's on your hold on, man? No, you need beef, bro. You need beef, man. Why? Oh, what do you mean, why? What's wrong with Come on, yo, you're not wearing protein gonna have you go into the bathroom, man. You gonna mess up your stomach, man. This is lactose free, man. Come on, champ. Beef build muscle, bro. Drink it out, man. You gonna mess up yourself, man.
I'm gonna try this. I'm trusting you.
Take that, man.
Thank you.
Messing up my workout. Beef it up with Carnivore, beef protein, isolate, 23 grams of protein, 0 fat, 0 sugar, 0 lactose. What you waiting for? Beef it up.